Mama never say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there osia dem yopo
of public opinion. And we call on all political actors and media to show the same restraint. Mr. Speaker, during recess, members and supporters of the NPP were arrested and detained for violence, not for financial crime, but for speech, for exercising the right to free expression that Article 21 of our Constitution guarantees to every Ghanaian. A party organizer was seized by heavily armed CID and BNI officers for posting a Facebook image of the president with the caption, "Dumso is back." That is what it took to bring the full apparatus of state security to a citizen's door. A lawyer following the case put it plainly, and I quote, "What makes the statement false? Anybody who says Dumso is not back is living in a cuckoo land." Our flag bearer described these events on May 13th as an endless assault on the fundamental rights of MPP officers and supporters that is setting Ghana's democracy backwards. He is right. Any government that deploys security forces against citizens for political opinion has lost its democratic bearing. Today, it is the NPP. Tomorrow, it could be anyone who dares to disagree. I call on the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of CID to immediately review all such cases and release every detainee held without solid legal justification. And I call on Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice to fulfill his constitutional role and direct the security services accordingly. They serve the people of Ghana. They do not serve the ruling party. Mr. Speaker, those arrests were designed to suppress the very crisis they exposed. Dumso is back. It is back under a government that campaigned loudly on ending it. Communities across this country are once again enduring prolonged, unpredictable power cuts. Businesses are hemorrhaging money. Hospitals are under strain. Children are studying by candlelight in a country that generates its own electricity. The economic cost is estimated at $320 million per year in lost output alone. The Akosombo Power Control Center fire and the Grico CEO suspension raised by the caucus in April were documented warning signs that were not addressed with the urgency they deserved. The result is that Ghanaians are again sitting in darkness. And this government answers was to arrest the people who said so. The result is that Ghanaians are again sitting, really positioning themselves to succeed President Mahama. Barely 16 months into this term, succession campaigning has become a visible, publicly discussed picture of this life inside this government. This has disturbed even voices within the ruling party. Most revealing was an opinion piece published on May 5th in the Daily Graphic by Dr. Callistus Bahama, the president's own executive secretary, writing under the title, and I quote, "Before the race begins, a call for discipline, reflection, and duty." He warned, again quoting, "Barely a year and a half into this mandate, the conversation about succession in 2028 risks arriving before the foundation of recovery have even been firmly laid. He want this amount to a quiet form of neglect. He concluded, the clock is not yet ticking towards succession, it is ticking towards delivery. Mr. Speaker, when a sitting president's own secretary is driven to publish a national newspaper's appeal, begging colleagues to stop campaigning and govern, the country is not being governed by a full government. Ghana remains under an IMF program. Debt restructuring is incomplete. Doomsday is back. Farmers are in distress. The people appointed to solve these problems are focused on replacing the man who appointed them. The president must heed his own executive secretary and enforce real discipline. Ministers who cannot separate governing from campaigning should be asked to choose. Right, Honorable Speaker, I flag additional matters requiring attention in this meeting. The outstanding report on the Akosombo fire and Gridco CEO suspension, the Ghana Gold Board operations, which will be addressed in dedicated minority statement, the acute distress of cocoa, cashew, and rice farmers who have received words but not action, and the creeping politicization of state institutions that this House must actively resist. The minority's 87 demands for this meeting are as follows. 1. All persons detained for exercising their right to free speech must be released immediately. 2. The Energy Minister must appear before this House with a credible doomsday plan. 3. The Finance and Economy Committees must hold an urgent joint hearing with the Governor of Bank of Ghana present. 4. The Foreign Affairs Minister must brief Parliament on the AU coalition strategy ahead of June 24th. Present a comprehensive reintegration plan for parliamentary approval and oversight. Table an early warning and early response framework for the protection of Ghanaians abroad. Account fully for the Burkina Faso tomato traders massacre, and brief this House on the status of all Ghanaians in the Gulf crisis. So clearly, to demand better loudly, and to use every constitutional tool available to us to compel accountability.
Honorable members, it's now the turn of the majority leader and leader of the House.
Right Honorable Speaker.
In darkness, the Minister for Energy must appear before this House with a credible, costed, time-bound plan to end load sharing. Not a press release, a plan that this House can hold the government to. Mr. Speaker, on May 1st, the Bank of Ghana published its audited 2025 accounts. The numbers are alarming. The bank declared a net operating loss of 15.63 billion cedis and an additional loss of 19.3 billion cedis. Together, that is a staggering 34.9 billion cedis. This 34.9 billion cedis has moved the bank's negative equity position from 58.62 billion cedis to 93.82 billion cedis. That means Central Bank owes more than 93 billion cedis, more than it owns. Even the 15.63 billion cedis headline conceals a worse reality. 9.6 billion cedis of the reported income came from selling Ghana's gold reserves. Remove that and the bank would have recorded a 4 billion operating deficit. This government sold 50% of Ghana's gold reserve before it could reduce the quantum of the original loss and achieve policy solvency. Meanwhile, the bank paid 14.61 billion cedis in interest to private commercial banks in 2025 alone. Banks that were posting record profits while our central bank hemorrhaged public money. During the year 2025, when the minority warned this government of its wearisome monetary policy measures, the majority dismissed them. We were told that the losses on gold trading were not significant enough to spark a national alarm. When we warned about the policy reversals causing huge losses on the sterilization program, they were initially denied, only for the BOG, Bank of Ghana accounts to show the true volume of the losses later. Mr. Speaker, Finance and Economic Committees must convene an urgent joint hearing with the government present. The recapitalization plan must be published, and this House must be updated regularly on the recapitalization process and the instruments being used before any further harm is done to the bank. Mr. Speaker, contrary to government's PR that the IMF program has ended, the truth is that this government has only transitioned from ECF program that has ended and signed up for a new program known as PCI program. This is the mark of a country that the IMF believes still requires supervision. It remains to be seen whether this government will be able to sustain the results in the framework that was negotiated by previous MPP administration. While the NDC is quick to claim the 2023 program was derailed, let me remind them that the IMF said no such thing. Indeed, it was their 2014 program that was described as off track by the IMF. What is important going forward is that Ghanaians expect that hikes in utility tariffs, escalating cost of living, and new taxes will be a thing of the past. Rather, the stability of the exchange rate is what the people expect, even now that the ECF is over. Right, Honorable Speaker, before I come to the xenophobic attacks in South Africa, I must place something on record. The steps that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs subsequently took on this matter did not arise in a vacuum. They arose, at least in part, because of the sustained pressure mounted by the minority caucus, and critically because of the intervention of minority leader made at the ECOWAS Parliament Stadium in Lagos from May 12 to 17. We won the hosting rights in June 2024. We had nearly 2 full years to prepare for this event. 2 years. And the result was an international embarrassment of the first order. It was a case of crass incompetence that has damaged, was a shambles. Transport failed for hours at a time. A gold medalist from South Africa went viral across international platforms not for his gold medal, but for his public complaints. I expected a hotel at least. When we got into the rooms, the beds were leather. We got sheets, a pillow, but no blankets. We were told we were supposed to bring our own coats. Mr. Speaker, Ghana invited the continent to our home. We had 2 years and we could not provide blankets. This is not a logistical hiccup. That is a systemic failure of planning, management, and accountability at the sports ministry. Now I link this directly to something with even higher national stakes. In less than 1 month, Ghana's Black Star faced Panama in Toronto in our opening game of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. On June 23rd, they faced England in Boston. On June 27th, Croatia in Philadelphia. The sports minister has publicly set targets to surpass Ghana's historic 2010 quarter-final performance. Coach Carlos Queiroz has told his squad 40 days to honor the pride, passion, and dreams of Ghana. Absolute focus, maximum discipline, no distraction, no excuses. His technical staff compiled 200 individual videos, reports, and monitored 170 matches in a single month. The coach is doing his job at the very highest professional standards. The question this House must confront directly is this: can the same ministry that delivered the Lagos disaster be trusted to provide the Black Stars with the professional support, logistics, and preparations they need and deserve for the World Cup? It is the same ministry, the same officials, the same institutional culture, and the evidence before us is not encouraging. The minority states this without equivocation. The level of incompetence that attended the African Athletics Championship must not manifest in Ghana's World Cup campaign. The stakes are too great. The eyes of the world are too many. The pride of too many Ghanaians is riding on those matches in North America. The minority accordingly calls for a full parliamentary investigation into the failures of the African Athletics Championship. The Minister for Youth and Sports must appear before the full House to face questions, not a committee hearing. Mr. Speaker, the full House. The scale of this embarrassment before the continent demands that level of accountability. Heads must roll when negligence is established. And the minister must present a written World Cup preparedness plan to Parliament for before the end of this month. Mohamed Kudus and the Black Stars earned Ghana a place at the World Cup. This House would not allow ministerial incompetence to follow them to North America. Right Honorable Speaker, senior NDC figures, including cabinet ministers, are
beyond. Our democracy remains resilient and is growing stronger with the passage of each day. Our institutions continue to function effectively, albeit various challenges still persist. I am indeed confident that the hope and aspirations of our people, though tested, remains alive and fortified. Let me commend the Right Honourable Speaker and his deputies for their dedication and patriotism to the nation. The nation will always be in your debt for your selfless dedication in serving the motherland. I further acknowledge the efforts of leadership of the House and colleague members of Parliament. Though we were on recess, you were never on vacation. I monitored the work of MPs delivering in our various constituencies and at committees and various international events at which Ghana had to be represented. Some were mostly busy representing us at the activities of the regional ECOWAS and Pan-African parliaments. I believe your engagements in the constituencies, your various committee engagements with relevant stakeholders, and the exposure to international contemporary issues during this recess have better prepared you for the work ahead in this session. At this point, let me congratulate some of our colleagues who made us proud by being elected to key positions at the Pan-African Parliament during this recess. Honorable Dr. Zaneto Ajima-Rawlings, Her Excellency, was elected second Vice President, effectively the Deputy Speaker of the Pan-African Parliament. Honorable Frank Anodompre was elected Chair of the Health, Social Work and Labour Committee of the Western Caucus of the Pan-African Parliament. We wish you well in your new offices. We have no doubt that you will continue to showcase Ghanaian exceptionalism abroad. Right, Honorable Speaker, we commence sitting at a profound moment of renewed hope and optimism in the country. Let me quote a post from Franklin Kujo of Imani, Ghana, about a week ago. Franklin Kujo writes, and please pay attention. Franklin Kujo writes, and I quote, "The fastest economic recovery in Ghana's history has been recorded." He says, the fastest economic recovery in Ghana's history has been recorded and achieved by version 2.0 of the Mahama-led government. This, after the most regressive, self-immolating policies of waste, mismanagement, and plunder the country has ever seen. This is the verdict. This is a verdict of civil society on the NPP regime. Franklin Kujo further states, key achievement, exit from the IMF program with star-studded annex, rapid decline in inflation, a confident cedi, international reserves built back better, the quickest debt reduction from 65% to 45% of GDP in just 1 year. Buoyed by confidence, candor, and transparency, the government's finance team, competently led by Dr. Atuforsen, carefully choreographed how to work with the IMF program they inherited, even though it was badly bruised, broken, and moribund from excessive hemorrhage following the twin shocks of the domestic debt exchange program, which amounted to the literal pickpocketing of the savings and investments by previous administrations. Mr. Speaker, in essence, the final economic collapse of the economy we witnessed in 2022, with all macroeconomic indicators gasping for air, was entirely avoidable. So what has changed this time with the exit plan from the IMF? A commitment never to return to the IMF after 3.5 years, the period we have been cursed through maladministration to return to the fund since independence in 1957. What is the PCI? It is a non-financial advisory and monitoring tool provided by the IMF. It allows the country to design and implement its own economic reforms without receiving a financial bailout, acting essentially as a global seal of approval for the government fiscal management. This masterstroke in economic diplomacy could not have been achieved without the backing of the president, whose mission this time around is legacy and respect. The president reads every document handed to him, often correcting grammatical mistakes. 922
Ghanaian nationals in that country, including 65 students. Evacuation plans were developed and, where possible, activated. Mr. Speaker, the Gulf crisis exposed in stark terms the vulnerability of tens of thousands of Ghanaians. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, and every official who handled this transaction must be summoned. Full bid documentation, evaluation criteria, scoring sheets, and the beneficial ownership declaration of all bidding entities must be produced. The committee must report its findings to the full House. Ghana's gold belongs to the people of Ghana. This parliament will not allow $1 billion national asset to pass to a presidential relative behind the thin curtain of a single cabinet recuser. Right Honorable Speaker, Ghana hosted the 24th African Senior Athletics Championship at the University of Ghana
before signing the country up to the contents. This is civil society verdict on this government, not NDC praising itself. So we can say, yes, stability has been achieved after the races with debt we experienced prior to 2025. Mr. Speaker, this House shares in the glory of this moment. This is because every policy, legislation, and appropriation needed to produce this successful story was carefully considered and approved by this House. I recall that we passed the Ghana Gold Board Bill at 3 a.m. in the morning after sitting through the previous day. The government has indicated a plan to commit the nation to a policy coordination initiative with the IMF. This parliament will once again be called upon to support the government with the appropriate policy, legislative, and appropriation approvals necessary to ensure that we never have to go back to the IMF within a short time after exiting their program like we have done since 1957. Mr. Speaker, we are therefore commencing this second meeting of the second session of the night parliament at a time when a lot of work needs to be done to carry our nation's economy to where we want it. Committees must monitor agencies they superintend over to ensure continued discipline and conduct conducive to national progress. This is what Ghanaians expect of their parliament. The international community has continued to applaud the Ghanaian people for our strides in democratic governance. The recently released 2026 World Press Freedom Index tells a story of remarkable institutional redemption. Ghana has made a monumental leap, soaring to the 39th spot globally out of 180 countries, our highest ranking in over half a decade. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand before you to celebrate a profound democratic resurrection under the deliberate, rights-driven stewardship of the National Democratic Congress, NDC administration, led by His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama. We have fiercely reclaimed our heritage as a vanguard of free expression in this country. Right, Honorable Speaker, our democracy remains a work in progress. Even as we are applauded for doing so well, we seek perfection. That is why I once again urge honorable members to brace themselves for a heavy schedule of work this session, because the government is likely to bring before us a number of proposals for constitutional amendment pursuant to the work of the Constitution Review Committee. Government proposals that might be brought before this parliament in this session. A number of entrenched and non-entrenched provisions of our Constitution might be considered for amendment, and this House will play a crucial role. So today is not a mere constitutional ritual, but rather a solemn reminder of the sacred trust that is placed on us as the elected representatives of the people. Our office as the representatives of the people places us at a position where we are the hope of the farmer in Sombo, the trader at Makola, the market woman at Kejetia, the teacher at Fomena, the fisherman at Elmina, the young entrepreneur in Akati South, the nurse in Hohoi, and all the youth and farmers of this country. As the elected representatives of the people, I beseech us never to lose sight of the fact that Parliament is not only a house of records and law, it is also the house where the hopes, aspirations, anxieties, and frustrations of the people are duly expressed and communicated to the government through questions, motions, debates, and statements. We, as the gatekeepers of democratic governance, must therefore work assiduously to meet the needs and aspirations of the people as we ensure the equitable distribution of national resources. Mr. Speaker, the various occurrences in the sub-region that threaten democratic governance and stability makes it imperative for us to govern accountably with honesty, maturity, patriotism, and national unity. While the country continues to enjoy peace and democratic stability, which is the envy of many, we must, however, acknowledge that our democracy has only matured through tolerance, dialogue, and institutional resilience. It is imperative for us to commend the Ghanaian people for their continued faith in democratic governance and constitutional order whilst working to meet their needs. Recently, the judiciary has come under attack by no less a person than the new Patriotic Party Minority Leader, Honorable Afenyo-Markin. Let me repeat a caution given by this very minority leader in this chamber, that when you are not satisfied with a decision of a lower court, you appeal and seek redress in a higher court. In this day and age, we must strive to be consistent because records are kept of whatever you have ever said. I want to assure the judiciary that we on this side of the house have their backs covered. Mr. Speaker, we must equally acknowledge that public confidence and trust in governance is increasingly being measured not by speeches, but rather by tangible improvements in the living conditions of the people we serve. To this end, Ghanaians expect accountability, transparency, and responsive leadership. They expect Parliament to rise above partisan divisions whenever the need arises and rally around the desire to improve their lives and livelihood. We cannot fail them in this endeavor, and the trust they repose in us must be the fuel that energizes us to do more for the country and its people. This is a sacred trust we must uphold and deliver to the benefit of the citizenry. Mr. Speaker, we are not oblivious to the remaining myriad economic problems confronting us. A half-decade accumulation of jobless youth, a recovering private sector and financial institutions, a huge infrastructure deficit. My very good friend, the Deputy Minority Leader, Honorable Patricia Apiaje, is obviously rehearsing for her potential role as a running mate. With a few more rehearsals, I believe you will do better than Baumia in the forthcoming campaigns. It is with great humility and gratitude to the Almighty God and a deep sense of patriotism that I rise this afternoon to welcome honorable colleagues back to this august house to commence the second meeting of the second session of the Night Parliament. I will begin by expressing profound gratitude to Almighty God for His grace, protection, and mercies upon our beloved country. Although this country has been through many challenges and uncertainties, we continue to remain strong, serving as a beacon of hope and oasis of inspiration to others on the continent and
by our practice, we are permitted to do so. In spite of the fact that she took quite a long time, it's right for her to do so. The majority leader, as also leader of government business, has also given you an indication of the business that we are expected to transact, particularly public business. And so please, the call by him for members not only to be prompt, but to focus on the business of the House is a right call. As the head of the institution, I also have to warmly welcome you back to the second meeting of the second session of the 9th Parliament of the 4th Republic. It's indeed my pleasure to see you all back, looking more than eager to share what you gathered and learned from your tours around the country and globally in furtherance of your legitimate parliamentary duties. I believe your interactions with your constituents and your colleagues all over the world have given you enough information and knowledge to be able to transact the business of the people in this House. I also trust that the recess afforded you the opportunity not just to only organize debates and rallies, talk shows and the rest, but also to have personal reconnection with your constituents and your colleagues all over the world. These are things that are meant to deepen the hope and commitment of our people to multi-party democracy, the best system that has been developed so far by humanity to govern itself. Honorable members, as we've been told, it's regrettable that one of the members of this House is alleged to be on the wrong side of the law. You've already been given the details. What I can add is that Parliament is working with government to ensure justice is done in this matter. I will in due course keep the House updated with developments in the matter. Meanwhile, permit me on your behalf to convey the empathy of the House to members of his family and his constituents for this unfortunate development, and to call on them to exercise restraint, for we are with them and we are doing everything to make sure that he is accorded all the due respect, dignity, and the opportunities available to all of us in international law. So please keep your cool and leave those who are involved. I'm happy that voluminous information has been given you as to the steps that have been taken by the Minister of Foreign Affairs together with our mission in Holland. Honorable members, is it important, very, very important, for us to always remind ourselves that we are here as servants of the people. And it is important to keep uppermost in our minds that the power and authority we exercise as members of Parliament are delegated. The power and authority emanate from Ghanaians who, as expressed in the Constitution and other laws, place their trust and hope in us. Our actions, words, and decisions must therefore reflect and inspire that trust and hope. The Ghanaians have made it clear in the Constitution that nobody, and I repeat, nobody is above the law. Not even the Ghanaians that we represent. They are not above the law. So we, the representatives, are therefore not above the law. No privilege or immunity supersedes the law. For purposes of emphasis, MPs are not immune from the law. Apart from this, after we are elected, we are all made to swear oaths to commit ourselves to the law, to the trust and the interests of Ghana and Ghanaians above our personal or partisan interests. Please, let us recommit ourselves to these oaths, to among other covenants that are contained in the oaths. And I want to quote this: faithfully and conscientiously discharge the duties of a member of parliament, unquote. I'm saying all this because Ghanaians are getting very disturbed about the wanton abuse of the trust. As the speaker, I cannot be a complainant, a prosecutor, and a judge at the same time. My role and responsibilities are well cut out in the Constitution, the laws of Ghana, and the rules of the House. If I act otherwise, I'll be acting ultra vires. And the judiciary is there to call me to order. Please, I can't go beyond these appeals. You know the rules. I cannot take the decisions on the floor. You have to. I cannot participate in debate. I only have to guide you. This is not understood by our people, but you understand it very well. And so my role is not the role like that of the president, who is the head of the executive and has been specifically given the authority. The executive authority is enshrined in the president. It's not the same for the speaker. My role is not that of the Chief Justice. No, it's a different role to preside over proceedings in the House. To be the person responsible for the administration of the parliamentary service. I have the ultimate responsibility of the administration of the parliamentary service. What happens on the floor here, I am only to preside and guide you according to the rules, the practice, the conventions of Parliament. I can't go beyond that. Please, sometimes I feel so frustrated, but there's nothing more I can do. I can only call on you as honorable members to let us earn the title honorable. I learned early in life that a wise person does not need advice. I know you are all wise, so you don't need my advice. I leave it at that. Honorable members, the agenda